Do new revelations prove that Queen Elizabeth was angered by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? What were the moving comments, Catherine?
The Queen secretly nicknamed Meghan The Troublemaker, and new secret letters reveal why she believed the entire romance was a calculated takeover, not a love story. Stay till the end, because Lady Elizabeth's quote will leave you gasping. St. George's Chapel, 12:01 p.m. A beam of May sunshine caught Meghan's veil, and the organ thundered, "Guide me, O thou great Redeemer." Cameras panned across the choir, harvesting smiles, yet one face remained fixed. Queen Elizabeth II, never late, never flustered, sat so still her diamond brooch seemed frozen mid-sparkle. No discreet nod of approval, no proud grandmother grin, just a narrowed gaze that flicked from Meghan's train to Harry's clenched jaw, and back again. Body language experts on breakfast TV shrugged it off as a 92-year-old conserving energy. Palace footmen knew better. They'd seen that expression once before, during the abdication crisis documentary screened at Windsor in the 70s, when the Queen learned new details of how Edward VIII had blindsided the crown. It was the look of a monarch reading chess moves 5 turns ahead and not liking the board. Lady Elizabeth Anson later revealed what happened in the limousine ride to the chapel. The Queen reportedly reviewed the order of service and paused at the solo by the Kingdom Choir, approved, then frowned at the sermon slot marked the Reverend Michael Curry. 15 minutes, she murmured. Bishops don't preach 15 minutes at weddings. Grandchildren barely manage 5. She closed the booklet and sighed. "We are guests at their show." The remark wasn't about music or length, it was about control, who held it, and who had just relinquished it in the royal family's name. The stiff gaze returned during the recessional when Harry and Meghan paused for an unscheduled kiss. Photographers erupted, social feeds melted. The Queen, stone-faced, lifted a gloved hand just once to adjust her handbag. Later that evening, she told Lady E over Darjeeling, "A stage kiss for the crowd is Hollywood, not Windsor. The curtain went up today and I don't recognise the play." From that moment forward, staff say, Her Majesty referred to Meghan not by title but by codename, the Troublemaker. Tradition dictates that the reigning monarch sees the royal bride's gown before anyone outside the atelier. It's less about style than symbolism, a quiet blessing, an assurance the dress honours both family and nation. On the 16th of May, 3 days before the wedding, Angela Kelly, the Queen's dresser, phoned Nottingham Cottage with the proposed time for the preview. Meghan's aide returned the call an hour later. The Duchess-to-be would prefer to keep the dress a surprise. Security concerns, you understand. Security concerns. Angela Kelly had shepherded Kate's Alexander McQueen gown past tabloids and Twitter. She'd kept Diana's wedding train secret in the era of rotary phones. The explanation rang hollow. Kelly urged a brief 15-minute visit at Buckingham Palace. The answer came back. Regrettably, her schedule is locked. Word reached Windsor within minutes. The Queen, already in her dressing gown, pursed her lips. If lace must be guarded like codes, perhaps there is more coded here than lace. The fallout rippled through the household. Dressmakers at Givenchy's London atelier had prepared a small lace motif framed in tissue, traditionally gifted to the sovereign as keepsake. Without the viewing, the presentation was cancelled. According to Lady E, the Queen found that slight more revealing than any magazine tell-all. "It speaks to trust," she confided. "What is marriage without willingness to share cloth and story?" Things worsened the next morning when Meghan requested an emergency tiara fitting at 8 a.m, clashing with the Queen's weekly intelligence briefing. A compromise was offered, noon at Windsor Castle. Meghan's team insisted on 9 a.m. at Buckingham and brought a Hollywood hairdresser who lacked security clearance. The Queen stood firm. The tiara will be where it always is, and at the time it always is. Harry, frustrated, allegedly snapped, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets." It was the shout heard round the marble corridors. The fitting eventually happened, late, tense, and minus the Hollywood stylist. When Meghan finally placed Queen Mary's diamond bandeau atop her carefully preserved bun, word reached the Queen in the palace gardens. Her response, recorded by Lady E, was icy simplicity. "At least the jewels have discipline." Within 24 hours, Elizabeth's private verdict crystallized. She summoned Lady E and remarked, "A bride unwilling to share her gown with family may be unwilling to share more consequential things with the nation. The wedding is Saturday, the reckoning may last longer." And so, as trumpets blared and crowds roared, the Queen's silence wasn't fatigue, It was foresight, measuring the distance between pageantry and permanence, calculating the cost of a wedding she feared was less covenant than coup. For any Windsor newcomer, the first year is a masterclass in nuance. Sign the visitor's book on page right, accept flowers with left hand, greet footman by rank, not name. Meghan's arrival felt less like a study session and more like a rewrite. The opening salvo was an email blast that hit royal inboxes at 5:12 a.m., just 6 weeks into the engagement. Written on Meghan's personal stationery, it laid out efficiency upgrades. Scrap the centuries-old red boxes in favor of Google Drive, allow personal phones at the breakfast table, and shorten curtsies to a polite nod for spinal wellness. Palace staff read it twice, unsure if it was satire. Private secretaries flagged the missive to the Queen, who underlined one phrase, "Will modernize as needed," and scribbled in the margin, "as desired by who." Next came car door gate. During her first solo engagement at the Royal Academy, Meghan exited the black Audi and, before the chauffeur could reach her, clicked the door shut herself. Social media swooned at the independent Duchess. Inside the equerry's office, an instant log recorded the move as breach of chauffeur protocol number 27. The gripe wasn't snobbery. Security teams rely on open doors to shield principals in emergencies. When briefed, the Queen didn't fume. She asked for a printout of the footage and observed, gesture over judgment, a pattern. Staff turnover accelerated. By Christmas, Meghan's PA, senior communications aide, and private secretary had all served notice. One insider described back-to-back 4 a.m. directive texts. Need vegan candles for Knott's Cottage by 7. Flower girls must wear stockings the colour of pure oatmeal. Another said Meghan redrafted a Commonwealth speech minutes before delivery, inserting a personal anecdote about her Hollywood auditions. The final straw for that aide? A handwritten note slipped under her office door at 11 p.m. Please source 1 rescue beagle for photo op. Ethical breeder must be within 10 miles. M. Nicknames spread like ivy. Housemaids whispered Hurricane Meg. Junior footmen preferred Duchess of Difficult. When the Queen's page mentioned the labels during an audience, Elizabeth waved a gloved hand. Storms pass, but we must check for structural damage. She ordered a private dossier. Every resignation letter, every midnight email, compiled into a thin red folder stamped personnel sensitive. And then there was avocado toast, a harmless breakfast favourite until Meghan's lifestyle interview praised its clean eating comfort. The next morning, tabloids revealed the Mexican plantations supplying Britain's avocado boom were linked to deforestation and drug cartels. Environmental charities the Queen had championed for decades rang her office. Upset by the optics, Elizabeth sighed to Lady E. A fruit becomes a flashpoint when ignorance meets influence. The pace left even Harry winded. He was photographed arriving late to a Grenadier Guards memorial, tie askew, muttering apologies. Guardsmen, used to his punctual warmth, stared as he skipped small talk and checked his phone twice, reportedly scanning for Meghan's messages about a speech draft. A colonel later told aides, "It's as if the lad's on call to a startup, not a spouse." By spring, Palace veterans began triangulating. Every protocol tweet, every pre-dawn demand, every press headline that framed tradition as oppression. The Queen reviewed the mounting notes and, according to Lady E, delivered a verdict as crisp as the stationery it was penned on. These are not accidents, they are intentions in high heels. And while staff scrambled to plug new holes, an even deeper fracture was widening between the two women expected to carry the monarchy's future brand side by side. Next came bridesmaid fittings and that now mythic clash. Press stories disagreed about who cried, but the Queen saw only headlines that pitted Duchess against Duchess. She told Lady E the rift was dangerous optics, the sort of fracture tabloids pry open until the institution bleeds. Catherine reportedly invited Meghan for tea to clear the air. Meghan cancelled 30 minutes out. From that day, the palace risk register logged sisters-in-law tension as a standing threat. The grandson, once famous for bear hugs and prank calls, began parroting Meghan's talking points, word for word, Lady E said. In a single phone call, Harry spent 10 full minutes berating the Queen over racist press briefings. Elizabeth listened in silence, then set the handset down with trembling fingers. "He's besotted," she whispered, "and not strong." Behind the mahogany doors of Balmoral, she feared the monarchy's most relatable royal was erasing himself in real time. Lady E's verdict landed like a thunderclap. The jury's out? No, Your Majesty. We think she engineered it all. The timeline looked like proof. Blind date, Botswana getaway, ring set with Diana's stones, all within 15 months. Palace security notes flagged the velocity as unprecedented. Even seasoned courtiers struggled to keep pace. Meghan seemed to move at Netflix series speed, while the Crown plodded on BBC time. Megxit sealed the Queen's private fears. Harry surrendered military patronages. Commonwealth tours collapsed. And staff recall Elizabeth aging a decade and a year, her final confidence to Lady E. She intends to rebrand the crown under her logo. Yet even as health waned, Elizabeth tried olive branches, personal invites, Balmoral picnics, space to return. None stuck. Harry drifted west. Meghan's memoir pitch drifted east. Service and silence founded Elizabeth's reign. Spectacle and spin threatened to bookend it. Was Meghan a modern victim or the monarchy's sharpest saboteur? One truth endures. When the Queen of Understatement secretly labels you troublemaker, the fairy tale carriage is already skidding toward a very public pumpkin. Drop your take below. Did the Queen see what we missed, or was she guarding a gilded cage? Hit subscribe, because next episode we break down Harry's 10-minute phone tirade, line by brutal line.